and welcome to the Men of Action podcast, where we bring in the warriors who have overcome the difficulties and the storms in their life. The men who felt like a zero until they recognized the hero that was inside them all along, so that way they could unleash the warrior within. And today, I got a special guest. I got Nate Norman out here on this podcast, and he's going to be telling us a little bit of story. So I'm glad to have you, Nate.
Hey, Zach, glad to be here, brother, man. Excited to talk with you and just get to know you a little bit and share a little bit of the story that's led me to these points in life.
Awesome. Let's get into it. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Dude, I'm a father of three. I've got three beautiful kids, a 11-year-old girl, a 9-year-old boy, and an 8-year-old daughter. And we're full tilt right now, baseball, volleyball, all the stuff, doing it all, right? I've been married for about 15 years, and I spent about 10 years in the pulpit preaching and teaching and just sharing God's love. And now I work for the power company. And I joke with some of the guys on Twitter, man, you know, I'll run off to the Porta John and crank out a few tweets and then get on back to work, you know.
I gotta say, we've been following each other for probably a couple months at this point, something like that. And I gotta say, I love like all your motivational sayings and like all that encouragement that you put out there. So you must be quickly running, get a good little bit motivational in there, and just have it for the day. It's awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's something that I feel like, you know, a mantra for life, man. You know, sometimes you see stuff on Twitter, you're like, man, I don't really know if that dude's living this or whatever. But for me, I need that stuff. I need that outlook. I need that positivity. I need that encouragement. And I say this often, Zach, if you don't see the friend that you want in your life, you have to become that friend. And so if I didn't see positivity or encouragement or uplifting things, I needed to be that. And so that catalyst for me has carried on for many years. If I don't see it, just be it, become it, right? You don't see the father or dad or leader or worker that you want in life, become that man, right?
That takes a lot of guts to be that person, because a lot of times a lot of people can say, man, I want to do this. It's like, it's not been in my mind, it's been on my heart, but it's like, I don't know if I can do it. So for you to just be like, you know what? I don't really sit out there, so I'm going to be the difference. I'm going to be the one to really go out there and be that encouragement that you need. And then naturally, this is what I love about Twitter, and that I didn't really know before I joined Twitter, was like how much encouragement, positivity is like really out there when you're like searching for and finding it, like how it just naturally comes about. Like when you're putting out those encouraging, you connect with one person, and all of a sudden Twitter's like, hey, you like this guy? So boom, 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 boom. And it's like how we were able to connect, and us connect with a lot of people, especially the one who got you that awesome shirt on that you have right now.
Well, Tyler, love that.
Little plug in for him for a little bit, just all the encouragement he's been providing too, man. He's like nonstop as well.
He's great, dude. Yeah, check out Tyler's shirts. They're fantastic. Joke about this shirt is you're guaranteed to get a PR when you wear this shirt. So get it.
Facts. Bring up someone's day, because I know if you go to the gym, everyone's like, dude, love that shirt. Like, friend made it, should check it out.
Love it, dude. Love it.
All right. So on this podcast, we really discussed like something like trying to encourage other men, and because sometimes it's hard to be a guy, you know, you don't really know where you're at. There's not always a lot of support and community out there where you have to go like a little bit extra to go find it. So what is something that you kind of struggled with, and like how you overcame it?
Yeah, absolutely, Zach. So part of my backstory was I had really just gone into the listless drifter, you know, through parenting and through the job and the 40-hour work week and everything that a man normally deals with. You have a propensity and a tendency as a man to go lifeless, to go cold, to go gray. And that became one of the major trials of my life is putting color back, man. And the more guys I talk to and the more guys I speak to, we all have a tendency within us to go gray, you know, to be silent, to go stoic, or to go just passionless, man, or purposeless. And we begin, once you begin opening the doors of the listless man, of the gray man, he'll rear his head, and you'll become that without even knowing you've gotten there. And then you'll wake up one day, you're like, how in the world did I become this type of man? And so for me, recognizing that I had become the gray man, that I had become listless, that I had become lifeless in my pursuits, lifeless in my marriage, lifeless in my career, ambitionless, goalless, visionless, those things, there was nothing that typified me except monotony, a flat line, if you will.
Right.
And recognizing that I had become the gray man was one of the biggest struggles of my life. And a lot of young parents go through this. A lot of guys in their midlife, they call it a midlife crisis, where they re-identify themselves or rebrand themselves or make a big purchase or go find a younger wife or something. They're going through these stages of a gray man, which is natural. And you have to use the right steps to get out of that, or you're going to end up ruining what God's given you to entrust.
Oh, absolutely. So how long were you this gray man for? And what did you come up? Did you come up with that term, or did you get it from like a book or a?
Over the course of years, you hear things, you hear sermons, you hear snippets, and I had heard it described as the Vietnam generation. They called the Vietnam returners the gray man, because Vietnam had affected these men in such ways that when they came back, their acclamation was very gray. They didn't want to talk about what they had seen overseas, some of the atrocities that had been done to them, and they just didn't really speak of it, right? So they kind of became gray. And so I adapted that to our lifestyles today, where a man has a tendency to lose interest and to not talk about the things that make him tick, or to not talk about the things that make him passionate. And he just lets him go cold. And you could call it the cold man, or the listless man, or the gray man, or the purposeless man. But I like this concept of the gray man because it was void, right? The man still exists. Right. There's life in his heart. There's life in his brain, but he's just very gray. There's no color to it. It's not black, right? It's not white. It's not full color spectrum. It's just flatlined.
Yeah, I love that terminology, the gray man. I mean, that's a great word to describe it. You're just like in this like limbo land of not knowing what to do or to go. And especially, we kind of, as guys, we're not very good at connecting with other guys, which we're not very good at. I mean, when you develop that support group, it takes a lot of effort and intentionality to keep it together, because it's easy to get distracted in work, family, kids' life. So for you to really go through all that, it's just incredible to be able to, one, even recognize that's going on, then two, to do something about it. So how long were you this gray man for? And then what kind of helped you get out of that kind of slump, if you will?
So I spent about 7 or 8 years. I worked in a prison during that time, and I had a very oppressive, the prison atmosphere was just so dark and so oppressive. You got 1,500 inmates who are just upset at life. They're mad to be there. They're frustrated. And that began to weigh on me. So I spent about 8 years just wondering why I was on the face of the earth, or wondering what my purpose was, or how to come out of this cave of questioning that I was in, and it stemmed from my faith. It stemmed from my career. It stemmed from not having a purpose or nothing to put my hands on. And Zach, this, bro, guys are meant to have a purpose, to have a passion. And when you have your hands on nothing, you wonder what you're here for. It's when you begin to work at something and to put your hands on something as God intended you to do as a man, that you find those purposes and find those passions. So over the course of time, after about 8 years or so of marriage and just a listless drifting, some things began to happen with my fitness. I got reached out to by a group of guys that do like a 5 a.m. workout outside. And they go meet at schools here in Columbia. And, it's called F3, man. And these guys were just doing calisthenics. And that was a great entrance to my fitness. And that kind of started me down a path of correcting that ship. And through the course of my fitness and aligning my faith and figuring out some of these pillar points for my life, I began to slowly emerge from that cave and realize that God had put in me wirings and giftings and abilities that I could use for good, for a furthering of the kingdom, for a benefit to my children, a benefit to my wife, a benefit to my friends. And I don't have to just wait on something good to happen. I can go out and live like every day's a good day,
I love it. That's incredible. And 5 a.m. That's to do calisthenics and everything. You don't really see that too often.
No, it's a great group, man.
It takes a lot of work to be the 5 a.m. club. That's for sure.
I am a believer, man, in the 5 a.m. club. Alarm goes off at 4 a.m. every day. And the power hours for me are from 5 to 9 in the morning. I'm my best. I'm the most alert. I'm the most cognizant. I'm the most excited from 5 to 9. And then, of course, you go through your day. But those are power hours, man. And if you start punching that clock at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., the amount of hours that you add to a year or to your life, man, it's huge, man. It's huge. Plus, dude, nothing good happens after 9 o'clock in the evening, right? Sure. Right? I mean, dude, when Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy go off, put your boy to bed because I ain't got nothing else going on,
That's a very good point. Just being aware of your surroundings too and what really happens. We all know that nothing good happens after dark is when people get most in trouble, because you know it's not gonna be in the morning because they're all asleep by that point.
That's right, dude. That's right. Nothing good happens, man. I'm a married man with 3 kids. Put your boy to bed. All right. That's all there is to it.
So you pretty much are in bed by like 9, 10 o'clock.
I try to be asleep by 10, usually, trying to head that way. Sometimes you have sports and church and things like that to keep you out. But usually by 10 o'clock, we're heading that direction. I'm not going to be staying up. We don't Netflix, man. I don't have cable. I don't really do any of those things. So there's really no point. What am I going to do? Just sit on my phone and scroll Twitter, So head it on to bed, bro. Put it down.
That's really good, especially the more that research comes out about how much phones are actually keeping the minds up and our sleep is actually declining too because of that. You realize how much blue light really, affects the melatonin levels in our brains and everything that really prevents us sleeping. And we both know how valuable sleep is. There's been countless studies about get your sleep. Sleep is vital. And that's where you have this kind of trend now of I think people are going to go back to slightly the alarm clock, because now I know a lot of people who don't even sleep with their phone in the room anymore.
Dude, I've seen lots of studies on it, man. And having that hour gap before you go to bed of where you're not going to allow that blue light in or that screen light in, it's been vital, man. And I know when I break that rule, my mind is awake, my thoughts are awake, my system is kind of geared up, and it takes me a minute to kind of wind back down. But if you give yourself an hour gap before you're going to sleep without that blue light, man, it makes a huge difference, And dude, if you're not pillared out on sleep, like if that's not a pillar of your life, you're not going to be your best version of yourself for your family, for your job, for your friends, for even for Twitter and the things we do. You're just not going to be cognizant. You're not going to be your full. You might be functioning at 65% capacity,
right,
where you could be functioning 85, 90, 95% capacity. Sleep is a huge factor for sure.
Yeah, and people might need some less coffee to keep them up and keep them moving. Because I know a lot of people just drink coffee throughout the day just to keep those levels hot. But it's also like from even a nutrition level, watching how certain foods now are affecting us. Like I know for me, certain foods go through I found this turnaround list called an instant spike. So you eat, so obviously you get more energy. Then all of a sudden, boom, you start crashing. And it's when you crash, it's fast too. It's not like a slow and steady. It's like a roller coaster. It's like just.
It's quick. It's quick, man. Garbage in, garbage out. Now I'm gonna let you slide on the coffee because your boy happens to love some coffee, and I will do a little drinking on some coffee, and I just enjoy it. I've seen people like Zach Hummel and some of these guys take some sabbaticals from coffee.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of like, don't take my coffee, man. You can have lots of things, but don't take my caffeine from me. Don't take my coffee.
No, I love coffee too, so I'm not trying to hate on the coffee. It's just more so, man. It's like when you have people who are drinking like sometimes like 32 ounces and they're just putting like full of cream and sugar, just further things versus drinking it black, which all the antioxidants have in there. So I'm not sure if you do drink coffee with cream and sugar or just black.
I put a little bit of local honey in mine. So I started doing honey a while back as like a pre-workout. So now I just squirt it in the coffee, squirt it in my mouth, and rock and roll,
I will say, because of all the guys like Gabe, Pligas and all that, those guys I've tried. I'm like, you know what? I never thought honey on steak would taste good. And, I'm a believer now. I'm like, yeah, I'll put a little bit of some honey in that. Obviously, maybe make some yogurt, put some berries on it, squirt some more honey on it.
That's it, dude. That's one of the downsides of Twitter, man, is here I am. I'm buying like $50 a month in local honey because of Twitter, right? You guys ruined me, man. And so now I'm like, I'm going through honey faster. I'm thinking about getting bees or something, so I can keep up with the honey demand that I ingest.
Have you ever tried like the bee pollen at all? So it's actually really good. So the bee pollen just is like further like antioxidants in your body. So it's actually like raw. It's not like when it's liquid. It's actually when it's more of a solid. And I know my local farmers market, they were selling, so I'll get some of that and just like take like a teaspoon a day, just to kind of crunch and get a little bit more health benefits out of it.
I had heard somebody talk about it through allergies. Like they might have taken the pollen through allergies and it might have helped with that. Down here in the South, we have the pollen that just flows off the trees, man. It's like the yellow snowstorms down here. And I had heard they say that might help with. Never tried it though. I'll be interested though. If it comes from a bee, I might be willing to take it, you know?
Hey, you're right. The honey, I mean, same thing, just a different concentration of it.
I'll take it, bro. Give it to me.
No, it's awesome. I'm just like, your story is incredible, what you've done in Vigor. So how are you kind of now taking all the lessons you've learned and like helping your friends and your family?
That's a good question, Zach. So when you begin to emerge as a man and begin to rediscover passions and to put your hand on something that when you touch it, you come alive again. You feel that passion. Even in faith, man, this goes beyond my faith because I'm a man of faith. You know, I love God. And when you touch a faith principle, you touch a life principle, and it makes you come alive and kind of unlocks this side of you as a man that you didn't know you had, man, I feel so guilty not giving that out to people. I feel guilty not sharing that with somebody, what faith can do for them or what fitness can do for them or what a dialed in family life can do for them. And sometimes, dude, I'll talk with guys, I'll talk with clients, and I'm like, it's so evident that you're in the gray, man. You've gone listless, you've gone cold. And I'm like, buddy, there is still life to live. And so sharing that and giving that out has been a huge blessing of my life, dude. And when somebody gets it, like when the cogs click in and you're talking and it just lines up and they're like, bro, I lost 20 pounds, man, or I got a PR, dude, or, you know, my family started going to church for the first time in years, man. And, you know, I got goals again. I got dreams again. Dude, it fires me up, man. And when you see somebody get it, it's like, dude, it's all worth it, right? And you're like, thank God that I was able to be brought out of that cave of questioning and now show others there's light at the end of the tunnel, or there's opportunity, or there's still hope, man. Having hope for your life. There's still opportunities for you to live a great life, you know? And when you see somebody get it, bro, it's a great feeling. There's nothing like it, man.
Oh my gosh. I completely agree. There's nothing harder than seeing someone without hope. You know, just, you can see it on their face. They slouch more, and there's just something about their eyes. I truly do believe that the eyes are the gateway to the soul, because you can just see it. There's just a look people have where it's just like, they're just feel like so mundane and just that gray man, and just like, and even if you try sometimes to give them hope, they're like, are you sure? Like, you know, there's always so much cloud. There's so much like a cloud of doubt in their minds and in their hearts that they just don't. They need that encouragement to really help them go through all that.
So true, man. So true. And that, you know, that was me too, man. You know, when I first started Twitter and these Wednesday midweek motivators started coming out, Tyler was talking to me about TylerTott, and we were talking about why, you know, getting your own brand and what you have for you and you kind of making a niche for yourself. And we brought up the Wednesday motivators. So it's like, dude, I need a sermon sometime. Wednesdays was my hardest day. It was my toughest day. I was gone early in the morning till late at night, and I needed some sort of a boost on Wednesday. So I started preaching to myself, man, and just giving myself a little 1 minute motivational, pull yourself out of the gutter and get back to life, and begin leaning towards that. And they were so impactful for me. It's like, man, I need to start sharing some of these. So I started recording them, putting them out. And so now every week it's become my thing that I have this once a week thing, man, and this little sermon. And until sometimes that you're presented with the problem, you don't know that you have one, right? And then when you see that there is another way to live outside of you being depressed or outside of you being listless, you find out that there are people that are living at 95, 90, 100% of their capacity, 100% positivity, or even 85%. Man, they're just functioning at a great level. You're like, man, it's possible. It's possible to live that, man. And that was a huge turning point for me coming out of that, was realizing there was a possibility for a man to live a life that was good, a life of positivity, a life of gratitude, a life of thankfulness. And like you talk about the eyes, man, that was me, dude. If you'd have met me, I was just gone cold, dude. Just wasn't much living for, man. And I'm here to tell all of y'all, if you're listening, Zach, you too, there's hope, right? And we are testaments that if God's not done, you're not dead, then God's not done, right? That there's hope still to be had for your life, right?
Amen, man. Completely. That's why I always say, no, if you woke up, and I say this sometimes to myself too. Okay, I woke up. Okay, there's a purpose for my life to do better, be that 1% better. And I've been given this opportunity, and I can make a decision. Am I just going to waste it away, or am I going to do something about it? If you don't like your current situation, Are you going to continue that path, or are you going to make the decision that today's the day? That's why all throughout Twitter, and I say more so in Twitter than any other social media platform, where you see that, like, start today. Okay, you don't like your situation? Start today. You're not happy if you are? Start today. Connect with a group. Get with a group. There's a lot of different, whether you have to pay between $5 to $15 a month, a lot of these groups have. Sometimes there's a lot of groups for free. And because it's worth that investment of developing a community of people to support one another, to help one another, that you don't have to face these problems alone. And that's like the one thing that I think guys do a lot is, okay, this is my problem. I have to figure this out. I mean, I remember being a kid going through stuff. I'm like, okay, this is, knowing that there's a lot of issues going on, but I know people had it worse and it didn't help me at all. So when you take time, and it's going to take time to find that good group of community, it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to meet with different people and figure out, okay, who's out of this group really for me? And one of the hardest decisions you have to make is sometimes breaking away from friendships.
It's true. It's true, man.
And that's probably the hardest, is you have to say, listen, you guys just want to go out and drink all the time. Listen, one, that's going to cost me a lot of money that I really don't have. And two, just in general speaking, of course. And then two, it's like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
It's good. It's good, bro. And, I've been very fortunate, man. There's been high caliber men that have been placed in my life throughout the course of my 37 years here. And these high caliber men, when you meet them, bro, it's different, right? It's different.
Yeah.
And when that type of man comes into your life and are vulnerable, or they crack open their chest and reveal a heart, or reveal an emotion, or reveal a soul, and they reveal part of their struggle, man, it's awesome, right? When you see a man that's you would consider a leader, you would consider a strong man, a full grown man, right? And
right.
Cracking chest and being vulnerable and having that friendship, you're like, man, there's something to this. And as these men become accountable and they become vulnerable, the life change occurs, because what you conceal ought to be revealed, and it's going to cause a cancer, right? You have to sometimes crack that chest open and say, guys, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm struggling. Or like you said, you can just stay there with those right. same friends and never crack chest, never get vulnerable, and never address the issues. And you just become a stagnant, no life river, right? Down here in Colombia, we do some kayaking, and when the river's high, it's flowing great, man. There's just good water, and it always flows out of the banks when the river's high. And when the water recedes, you have these coverts, these little eddies that have now got water in them from when the river was high. And when the water receded, the water has stuck in there. And what happens to this water is it's stinky. It gets trash in it. That the wildlife can't survive in it because there's no circulating current. Right. It's stagnant water. And accountability and vulnerability, for me, bring freshness into what you've tried to keep stagnant. Maybe you've got a section of your life where you're like, man, the water in this section has gone cold and stagnant. It's not moving. There's no life in it. You need to let a current back into there. You need to let fresh water back into there. And like what you said with friendships is so crucial, is that sometimes you opening up that door to a friend is the water that you might need, because you've been in that cesspool for so long. You might need a fresh set of eyes to come into that section and open up and bring some fresh current in there, bring some fresh life or some fresh hope into that situation that you thought was dead. And friends do that, man. So I'm a huge proponent of choosing your friends. Go find a man who's doing what you want to do, right? Who's working out, who's got a family, who's got a career, who's got goals, and latch on. You want to be rich, get around rich people. You want to be poor, get around poor people. You want to be positive, get around positive people. You want to be a weightlifter, get around people who are lifting weights, right? Surround yourself with who you want to become. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? Put yourself around somebody you want to be.
I love that quote too, because I know the guys, I can't remember the guy's name, but I know he can be a little bit raunchy on, through like YouTube shorts. So this is like one little guy who says it, and he goes, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And it's just like, oof. This is so true. I mean, you make them, and your mindset's going to determine that. And it's so imperative that people really recognize that. Because like if you hang around a bunch of people who use profanity, eventually you use profanity. If you hang around a bunch of people who make fun of others, you'll eventually be the sixth, seventh mocker in the group. So then you
It's so
hang
true.
around people who are encouraging and want to support you and encourage you, not just kind of complain about the current state of how things are, but actually want to be action takers and do something and become kind of on this channel, really focusing on like that man of action who's not afraid to be who doesn't want to be a bystander anymore, but wants to be an action taker, take their life back, reclaim it, and really recognize how much potential they have within themselves.
100%, dude. You know, I used to say it like this, Zach. A person that's sitting on the bench at a sporting event is no threat to the opposing team. They're a noisemaker. They're a cheerleader. I'm not the cheerleaders are no threat to the opposing team, but they're in the stand. The other team is not worried about them. But a person on the field who's actively playing is a threat to the enemy. Like, oh man, new pitcher coming in. Oh man, do you see that guy's arm? Did you see what this person can do? And you become a threat to the enemy when you just get involved in the game. Instead of just sitting there complaining about how the game's going. Right. Get involved in the game and play it. Absolutely, brother.
So with this, like, I know you talked about the early group, but do you have like another group where you kind of focus more on like just kind of really checking in with each other to see how you guys are doing? And of course, as we know, sometimes you have to call people on their BS. So they're saying, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, things going around. It's like, okay, come on now.
Yeah, I've got a few groups that I work with specifically. I've got some guys that I hold myself accountable to through text. They might live in Texas or California or wherever, and we all kind of keep up. And I just say, hey man, I'm going through something. Can you pray for me? Or hey, what do you think about this, man? I'm raising teenage daughters. You know, how do I manage this? How do I when should I give my child a phone? You know, and learning from dads who have kind of been down the road and got a T-shirt from the season I'm in. That's been helpful. I'm in a group right now with Zach Hommel, dude, and each day the guys are checking in and they're like, hey, hit my breath work, hit my exercise goals for today, hit my fitness programs. Here's what I'm eating. And there's just this constant sense of accountability where you are seeing what they're doing and it's encouraging you to say, oh man, I need to get back on it. Oh man, I missed this. These guys are reminding me that I need to stay true to this. And dude, this is so crucial for a man to have some form of accountability. And we're like, oh, well, it could be your wife or it could be your friend. Yeah, maybe it could be. But if you give somebody access to your life to call you up to a higher standard, I mean, you're going to be better because of it. You are going to be a better man because you gave somebody access to call you out, right? But this isn't something you could just have. This is a friendship that you need to forge out. You need to go find this person and latch on to them and say, I need help in these specific areas. Will you text me once a week or call me once a month and say, are you looking at pornography? Are you getting drunk? Are you living the life that God called you to live? Are you being a man of honor? Are you being a man of integrity? You being a man of character? Dude, even recently, I was talking with a bro online recently, and I was talking about our fitness goals, things that scare us. You know, I had gotten into the ice recently and I was doing ice baths and it scared the crap out of me. You know, when you get into the ice, it's like panic, dude. It's like your system is shutting down, you're freaking out and you're trying to regulate your breath. And so it became this intimidating thing for me. And we made this statement that says you have to pursue discomfort. You've seen this, right? You have to seek the discomfort. If it makes you nervous, you should probably be attempting it, right?
Right, exactly.
Same with fitness. And so we were talking about fitness. And so he was talking about running and wanting to increase his run. I said, okay, well, what's the furthest you've been in the last year? And I think he said like a 5K might have been the farthest he'd been in the last year. So I said, buddy, what scares you? What distance would you say scares you? And he'd say, dude, I don't know, a 10K scares me right now. That's double what I've done in the last year. I said, okay, you pick a distance and whatever distance you pick, I'm going to do it with you. And I hadn't been running a lot recently, so I was scared of what he was going to throw out there. But he gave me access to call him up to a higher standard, and he picked 8 miles, right?
Okay.
And he went out there and ran those 8 miles, dude. And he texted me back. He's like, bro, man, I did it. You know, I was feeling great, man. I went through the doubts, but you said I wasn't going to die, and I did it. And I said, buddy, dude, this is a win, right? This is a huge win. And you give me access to call you up to a higher standard, and we're going to notch this off as a W. And not just in fitness, Zach, but in every area of your life. When you allow yourself to be pulled to a higher standard, you become a better man because of it.
Yeah, I love it. And the fact that you're willing to go with him and do it too, that speaks volume of you. It's like, okay, because we're just a team. And for you to go out and do that, man, that's just awesome. Like truly, truly. That that's that way you're making a difference. You're encouraging others, you're speaking that encouragement, and you're being the difference, and you're saying that you can do this and we'll face discomfort together.
That's right, dude. That's right. And I'll go out there and get sucked with you for a while, get miserable. We'll both go out there and sweat and just complain and, feel that pain in our body. And then afterwards, when the endorphins release from physical activity and you feel like a king and you feel like a champ, right? Then we'll slap back and we'll grow as friends because of that. We went through hardship together and now we're going through victory together, and we learn as friends because of that, dude. Yeah, I'll definitely go out there with you and get miserable for a little while, for sure, dude.
Man, there's not many men like that out there, and hopefully, we can create like a chain reaction too, that you encourage one person. You always hope that you pay it forward, that person will now encourage someone else to face their own discomfort that they talk to and just feel so invigorated and just alive, and going from that man who's great to that man who's just on fire, whether it's on fire for God, whether it's on fire for fitness, health, or just wanting to be different in some capacity. Saying, okay, you know what? I got to do this.
Right.
Just changing that mindset. And everything is such a mindset. Like the older I get and the more I study and different things, since I'm in mental health and all about mentality, mental health, the mindset. And the more like you realize that you're really sometimes your own main obstacle, that things aren't going to be as bad. And it's hard because we psych ourselves out so easily. And that to grow, I've really learned like in the last year or two, it's like really to grow, you have to really face that discomfort. You have to face what you fear, because, and I'll tweet about this sometimes too, is the biggest risk is not taking one at all.
That's so good.
And
so good. Dude, I have a lot to say about this particular area, seeking the discomfort and going after what scares you. Dude, that man that does that will be a different person in the world. Like you will be the 1%er, or you'll be the minority when you become a person that seeks out scary things, right? I'm afraid of skydive, so I'm going to jump out of a plane, right? I'm afraid to get in ice baths because it freaks my body out, so I'm going for 11 minutes in ice bath, right? Nice. I haven't ran farther than 5K in a year, so I'm going for 8 miles now. And when you become that type of man, you are the catalyst for change, and you don't even have to say anything. You become a high impact man, a man of value, a man of principle, just because you set a bar for yourself. And others are like, wow, it's possible to live that way, right? It's possible to have a life of passion and a life of fire and a life of vision, because I see it in this dude, right? And you become that type of man when you put what scares you in front of you. And you say, I'm willing to do that. We've got a little routine on Wednesdays that it's called Farmers Carry Wednesdays. Nothing fancy, just a name we decided to come up with. And at the end of the workout on Wednesdays, me and some boys and whoever's in the gym and wants to join, we'll go up to the dumbbell rack and you grab a weight that you believe is intimidating, right? So we started with 100 pounds in each hands. And we're like, we're going to go 50 yards with 100 pounds, man. And you put 100 pounds in each arm and you take off walking and you go through the psychedelic experience and your body's going into shock load and your traps are banging and everything's hurting. You're like, wow. But where do you go from there? We went to the 110s, right? To the 120s. Right. Now we're on the 130s, which is the highest dumbbell that they have at our gym. And the fear that started coming when you think about 130s, or you think about the 260 pounds that you're about to tote. And you're like, it's scary. It's debilitating, almost to the point where like, we're going to increase distance. And now I'm worried about it. You're going through your workout on Wednesday and you're like, oh crap, farmers carries are coming. And it's a nerve-wracking thing because it takes such a toll on your system. But now when you get done with that farmer's carry, 130 pounds for 100 yards, now we're doing 2 laps, right? We've progressed so much further from that first initial 50 yards. Now I still fear it. I still am like, I don't want to do this, but I know that if I fear it and give it that power, it will own me. So what do I do at the end of the workout? I don't think about it. Just go over there, grab them, let's walk, right? And then when I get done, dude, I feel amazing. I feel like, man, I'm so glad that's done. I'm so glad I didn't bail out on that. I'm so glad I didn't just pull the chump card and be like, let's do it another day, right? seeking that discomfort gives me a win in the middle of the week, right? Gives me a W. And dude, who knows what Zach Hahn was talking about, this big stone that he's got that's like 300 pounds of shape of whatever. I can't remember the name he called it. He called it something fancy, man. It starts with an S, I think. Anyway, he's like, it's a 300-pound stone. He's like, your back will grow. And I'm like, oh, dude, the envelope is so far. But that's what I need. I need somebody to say, hey, you did good, but we can push further. You did awesome. Let's go some more. And Zach's out there setting pace, dude. I'm like, all right, bro, I see you and I'm coming, right? I see that it's possible and I want to get there. And I also want to be that for somebody behind me too. Show them what's possible.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's out there like encouraging me to do like a competition now. He's like, I mean, he just did like the Ironman. Now he's like, I think it's the strongman he's doing now. And it's just like, you got other people like, yeah, I'm doing this competition. It's like, dang, like.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do, Zach?
What I'm gonna do is, well, right now I'm doing the 75 hard day challenge.
Yeah, that's a great challenge, dude.
So now I'm really trying to focus on just getting really healthy and in shape. And I'm terrible at running. I've never been like a long distance. So I'm actually trying to build that up. And I'm thinking about, because I can probably do about 3 miles in about 45 minutes. So I might like sign up for like a 5K at one point. I just have to continue to build that stamina and that endurance. So that's just something like I've been like, that's just been, I don't know why, but that's like, I need to do more running to get better at it. So that's something I got to still focus on myself. But that's something that's just, I don't know why, it's just been in my mind for like the last maybe week or so or something like that, maybe a little bit longer than that. But it's just been like, and then I had someone immediately text me, like, when I had 10K, it's just like, I don't know if I would survive a 10K.
Dude, I have a huge background in running. I love running. That's how I got started in some of the fitness calisthenic circles. There's nothing quite like the endorphin release that comes from running. Your pores feel clean, your mind feels clean, your body feels clean. It's a great feeling. And when COVID hit, me and a buddy, we were saying, hey, you remember 2 weeks to slow the curve, Zach? You're like, hey, 2 weeks to slow the curve. So we were sent home from our jobs and we were kind of on this waiting period for these 2 weeks. So I said, hey, let's run a 5K every day for these 2 weeks, and just until COVID's gone, let's run a 5K a day. So of course the 2 weeks didn't stop the COVID, right? And so 2 weeks in, we said, well, let's just keep going and see what happens. So every day we were going to run a 5K, and 100 days later, I'm like, where do we go from here? We're 100 days in, COVID's not stopped. We're still in limbo. He's like, let's keep going. Let's make it to 150. So we did 150 days in a row of running a 5K at least a day. Some days were 7, some days were 10, some days were 13, and it was just amazing. And during that time, we started talking about a marathon. We're like, we're in great running shape. We're running a lot. Let's look at a marathon. And both of us said the same thing. We're like, man, a marathon, 26 miles, right? But here's the deal with running, man. And this goes beyond running. This goes into fitness. This goes to anything. There's this point in running where you get really uncomfortable. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You feel like you're going to die. Your lungs are hurting. Your legs are hurting. Everything's hurting. But you don't die, right? You don't die. You end up making it back to your house or to your car. You're usually okay. It's this discomfort that we go through. And we're like, oh, body's like, stop. And here's the deal with big distance. That feeling is the same feeling at 3 miles as it is 15 miles. You just, how long can you endure that feeling? How long can you be uncomfortable and go through it? So I went out there and did this marathon. I went to a high school track, Zach, a circle track, right?
Yeah.
And I'm out there trying to run a marathon, and I'm going through what could happen. Is my body shutting down? I went through the 7 stages of grief on this marathon.
Jeez.
Anger. There was times where I'm like, I hate this, and there was times where I'm like, let's go. Right. And there was other times where I wanted to cry. And just going through these different emotions was so crucial, man. I didn't know what to expect, but I got it done, right? And my wife was there at the end. I called her. I was like, I need you to come up here. And she got to the end. I'm like, I can't explain to you what happened in my mind when I crossed 26.2 miles just on a random Friday going out there and running. It was the greatest experience because, number one, I didn't think I could do it, right? It's impossible. Impossible to who, right? Impossible to you, impossible to me, impossible to them. No, it ain't. You can run. Right? How long can you handle that feeling of discomfort? And dude, apply this to your marriage, apply this to working out, apply this to your job. Okay, work's tough right now. How long can you handle that feeling of discomfort?
Mm-hmm.
Man, me going to PR this bench press, right? It's hard. My muscles are shaking. How long can you handle that load, right? And learning to handle load in every area of your life is going to make you resilient to load, right? You're going to be able to load your system up and you're like, I'm good here. I am okay in discomfort because I've trained in discomfort, right?
That's right.
Sorry, that was a mouthful.
No, I loved it. I even loved how you included the 7 stages of grief into like what you're going through, that anger, that bargaining. I'm sure you're like, come on, I just want this to stop. Should I stop? No, you got to keep going. Okay. Well, if I stop, then I did pretty good. Like we always get, right? Well, I did pretty good. So I think I earned this to stop, which is, again, one of those, the mind, I love the mind, honestly. It's like one of my favorite things because how it can push you to do better. Being just either push you to do better or stop you from even moving and living, just what the mind does, and just like how they call it intrusive thoughts, like how these thoughts just pop in our minds. Like, don't do that. You can't do that. Who are you to do this? And then it's just like us making a decision. First of all, I have no idea where these thoughts come from because I was just, thinking about going to the gym, and all of a sudden now it's like, it's like, well, it's raining. Do you really want to go out? It's like, kind of, yeah. Not really. I have to do it because I know if mine says, I gotta go. There's a reason I gotta go and do this. There's something stopping me from doing this, and I need to go do it.
That's right, dude. And you know about the mind, man. You know about neural pathways, right? The neural connecting pathways, man, of doing something difficult and reaping that benefit. Man, it's like a mental cookie, dude. I mean, you're giving yourself a treat when you do that hard thing and you go and complete it. And next time you go to do it, your brain's like, oh, I get a cookie for this. I get a reward. I get a treat for doing this difficult thing, man. And I promise you guys, anybody who's listening, if you begin to attempt difficult things and create those neural pathways, you might look at that mountain of your life and be like, man, I can't. And that's one of the biggest lies we believe as men. I can't. I can't. Yes, you can. I guarantee that you're more capable of what you think, right? You're more capable. And you don't have to move that whole mountain. You don't have to go run the whole marathon right now, but you could start running. You could pick up one stone in front of you and begin moving that mountain piece at a time, because I'm telling you, you can, right? And believing that you can do something, making that neural connection that you can do something is huge, man. It's huge.
Without a doubt. And the fact that, you might still have, and you might want to call these like default actions or just habits, where your neuron pathways are used to doing something. And if you do something hard, that you can create new neuron pathways, neuroplasticity, and always making the mind stronger and better. It's pretty much what that is. And create neuron connections. That way you can have different trains of thoughts, where you can actually hold like a thought captive and say, okay, I can either listen to this thought and go one direction, or I can go a different direction. And I have that choice. And when people recognize how much of a choice they have, it is so powerful for them. It's so empowering, that knowing that they have that opportunity to make that choice, and only they themselves, no one can force them to make that choice. They themselves have to make that choice. So as we kind of wrap up things, what is like some like advice you want to give to someone? Like that's just someone, let's say, who's that gray man feeling down. Like what's like one piece of advice in a quick like statement that you want to give to them today?
100%, Zach. So with this, I say this often, and I've said it several times in this conversation. If you're not dead, God's not done. Okay. You've got more life to live. You've got a passion, you've got a purpose, and you've got something that you're going to touch that's going to bring you to life. You just got to find it. Keep searching, keep looking, and keep going.
I love it. Short, sweet, simple, that cherry on top. I love it. So, Nate, just want to thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you so much for taking time every day to be here. And go check him out, his social media and all his platforms. So be in the link below. And if you're interested, because Nate does do coaching. So if you're a father, if you want to improve in your fitness journey and be a better, father, fitness and health and overall, check out his coaching. DM him on Twitter. He's a fun guy, encouraging guy, and I guarantee you'll change your life, for he is a man of action. So I hope everyone has a blessed day, and I'll check you next video. Bye.